A mouse plague in parts of regional New South Wales is causing health concerns after 3 hospital patients were bitten.
Oh, damn!
The rodents are running rampant across the state's central west region and all the way across the border into southern Queensland. Health officials are urging people to protect themselves from diseases carried by mice, with one case of a type of meningitis reported already. Farmers are desperately seeking new rodent control methods to save their crops from destruction. And Lucy Moss is a farmer and business owner in Coonamble in the central west of New South Wales, and she joins us now from Coonamble. Lucy, g'day. So you're in the shop now, a cafe and homewares gift store. Have they actually got inside the shop?
They have certainly moved in, Joe. They've made themselves quite at home, unfortunately.
And what have they got stuck into in the shop?
Look, I was going to say everything. We've had to check our stock daily. We do a morning routine of removing deceased bodies, but also on the cafe side, we've had to, they've pretty much got into everything that was accessible on shelves or left out, not locked away in bins.
Does it gross you out?
I feel like it's been going on for a number of months now, and I'm still getting grossed out on all different levels.
Right. And so do they, when you say you're picking up the bodies, are they just, there are dead mice on the floor of your shop when you walk in of the morning, or where are they dying?
They have a knack of choosing the most inconsiderate spots to die. So they take it to a whole new level of being an annoyance when they're alive as well as being dead. But yes, we have, we're using traps, and they are also, so we just have to dispose of them that way. Yeah,
and I understand your fridge has broken down as well. How do they end up affecting your fridge?
So our milk fridge that we use to store for the cafe, they climb up underneath and get stuck in the motor which cools the fridge, and it's happened about 7 times now where we'll come in the morning and the milk fridge is sitting at 35 to 40 degrees because the mouse has got trapped in the fan, and we had to dispose of all the milk, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you've got to pick the dead mice out of the back of the fridge in the kind of machinery of the fridge.
It's an electrician's job to come in and do that, thankfully, but yeah, it's not a fun one.
Yeah, and so how much does that cost you then at the shop?
Look, I haven't actually, I would say it's definitely in the thousands, like between the damaged stock within both the cafe and the gift store, as well as the machinery. Look, it's probably upwards of $6,000 to $7,000 at least. And
are they attracted to anything in particular in the gift store?
They love the clothing, unfortunately.
Right, okay.
They've got good taste, but like anything that looks warm, we normally send out some cookies with our website orders as a bit of a thank you, and they found them pretty quickly, so we no longer do that. But the clothing and cushions seem to be also a big favourite.
Yeah, and so they munch through cotton.
Yes, we have to check for holes as well as their waste issues as well. So yeah, it's quite annoying.
And so have you had to kind of lift your clothes up and try to put them in somewhere safe overnight so the mice don't get stuck into them?
Yeah, it's quite a routine. We've had to actually change the way that we store the clothing so that it's not sitting on long ways on the ground.
Yeah.
We've had to fold things and put them away. We've had to dispose of some. It's as I said, quite a routine every morning.
And I guess you can't really insure against stuff like that. Is there a mouse plague clause in your insurance?
I haven't actually rung the broker and asked, but I'm sure there's some form of act of God that falls under mouse plague somewhere.
Yeah. Now, you're from a property that's like 35 k's out of town to the northwest, I understand, of Coonamble. What's it like out on the property?
Look, the mice have certainly moved into my house as well and made themselves also equally as comfortable there. Again, ongoing. I haven't used my oven for 4 months because they've moved in there and died and also made themselves at home.
How do they get into an oven?
The oven's only 3 years old, but there's holes at the back, believe it or not, that and it's packed with cotton wool, so they've quite literally made themselves at home. But apart from inside my house on the farm, we've lost hay that we had, oaten hay that we had stripped and stored. That has now been ruined, and my husband Will is obviously regularly checking our grain storages, but they seem to be okay at the moment. We're particularly concerned about sowing going forward, and he's had to tackle that creatively, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and is there much you can do to actually try to stop them, or not really?
Well, I'm hoping the 70-odd mils of rain that we had a couple of days ago will stop the next generation, and we've just got to deal with the current ones we have at the moment. Poisoned wheat seems to be, like, agriculturally the way to go, but inside the house, trapping and getting creative with different forms of contraptions that are around is the only way to go forward, I think.
Yeah, I read something this morning is suggesting, the rain's really good because it floods their burrows or whatever they've got, and also you can tell when it's dying, or the plague is dying off, is when they start eating each other. So maybe have you noticed any of that yet?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Unfortunately, I do find bits and pieces of mouse bodies around my house, inside and out. So yeah, I think it is. And
that's not because you've got cats. You think that's because they probably are getting to the stage of eating each other.
Yes, I did consider for a while there becoming a crazy cat lady and importing 40 cats into my house, but no, you haven't got that far yet.
Okay, Lucy, great to have a chat to you. Sorry they're causing such huge problems there, and hopefully getting to the end of it.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, good stuff. Lucy Moss there in Coonamble.
Parts of New South Wales are in the grip of a mouse plague, and it's not just farms that are affected. People in local towns are also telling horror stories of rodent infestation. Here's Richard Teague, who's a water tank cleaner in Dubbo in the central west of New South Wales. Richard, hi there. Thanks so much for being with us. What have the last few weeks been like for you?
Oh, yeah, we've seen large numbers of rodents, be it rats, mice finding their way into people's drinking water and water storage. So it's been quite interesting.
So what sort of mice numbers are you finding in people's water tanks, Richard?
Well, it does vary. I don't sit and count individual carcasses. I just get them out. But anything up to hundreds at times find their way in there, yeah.
Wow. And these are water tanks that people use the water in them for drinking?
Yeah, certainly. There's 1,000 different reasons people store water, but yeah, definitely drinking water's being affected, definitely, yeah.
And do you find that you're being called back to the same tanks again and again? Richard, you clean them out one day and the mice just get back in there the next?
Oh, yeah, mostly though, maintenance is the biggest thing. If they've got a decent sieve, decent basket, and once you are onto it, you can prevent them getting in there. So normally when people see what finds their way in there, they're pretty keen to do something about it and get themselves a new sieve, or I provide a new tank basket, etc., and save it happening again. So
we're seeing pictures of you in action at the moment, getting a mouse or a rat out of a tank with what looks like a water vacuum. Wouldn't have your job for all the money in the world, Richard, got to say. Have you seen anything like this before? We've seen previous shots of just hundreds and hundreds of mice running around.
Not in my lifetime. A lot of old farmers I talk to, they remember times, different times in history where it's been like this. But in my lifetime, I've been doing this for 10 or so years. It's never, ever been like this. And just widespread infestation. I've never seen anything like it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Are mice attracted to water then, Richard? Why are they getting into the tanks in the first place?
I think it comes down to people, when you poison mice, they need to drink, and that's what activates the poison the toxin reactions. So they need to drink. So the first place is perhaps the gutters or the downpipes. So they find their way in there, and then a bit of rain washes them from there into their rainwater tanks.
Yeah, it's a horrendous situation, but business must be good for you, Richard.
Oh yeah, there's been a pretty sharp increase in call-outs. So in that sense, it's been good.
Yeah, there's always an upside, isn't there? Richard Teague, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us.
No worries. Thank you very much.